Alright, hi everyone, welcome to day 4 hands-on exercise. In this video I'm just going to walk you through the hands-on exercise with day 4. So let's start with this thing. So I've already run this cell which says setup complete, so we'll jump on to the question 1, right? So it's saying define a function name as sine. So let's read the question first. Many programming languages have sine available as built-in function. Python doesn't, but we can define our own. So in the cell below, define a function called sine, which takes a numerical argument and return -1 if it's negative, 1 if it's positive, and 0 if it's 0. So let's define a function name as sine, right? It's easy and simple. We just need to use if else condition here, as I have told you. So we'll say if x is less than 0, return -1, else if x is greater than 0, return 1, else return 0. So it says function numerical argument return -1 if it's negative, less than 0 if it's positive, that is greater than 0, and 0 it's 0, right? We'll run this to check our solution. Oops, sorry, I just need to sign it, right? According function Python raise the following assign positional arguments right again. We didn't define x, so these are some of the common mistakes which we can make while writing the code. Yep, now it's worked fine. So when I define a function, I need to make sure how many arguments passing in the function and I am doing it right way. So when I say define function sine x, it should take one argument. Now if x is less than 0, that is this argument inside the function is less than 0, this function will give us -1 and henceforth. So this is about question 1. We'll jump on to question 2 now. So it says return the number of leftover candies that must be smashed after distributing the given number of candies evenly between 3 friends. There's nothing to do in this question. We just need to run this cell. Splitting 91 candies, the leftover is 1, right? So it says what happens if we call it with the total candies equal to 1. Let's run and see. It says splitting 1 candies, that is equal to 1. So the next part it says that isn't great grammar. Modify the definition in the cell below to use the correct grammar of our print statement. So if there is only 1 candy, we use this singular candy instead of plural candy. So what's happening here is, if you can look here carefully, it says if we split 91 candies, so that is a statement which is plural statement, right? If we go here splitting 1 candies, that is a wrong grammar. It should say splitting 1 candy, because it's only 1, it's only singular statement. So we'll jump here, we'll see what we can do, right? So return the number of leftover candies that must be smashed. We just need to do a bit of change here. So we'll again use a if else condition, which is the best weapon we have. So if total candies is equal to 1, we'll ask it to, I'll just copy paste this thing to save time, right? That is the wrong indentation, right? Print splitting total candies candy, right? The next statement is else, and now print this. So what's happening in this function is that if the number of candies is equal to 1, it will give us this statement total candies instead candy, right? So it will say splitting total candies which is equal to 1, then candy. So it say splitting 1 candy. Otherwise it will say splitting total candies which will be more than 1, then candies. I hope our grammar is right here. Okay, yeah. That is, again I think I have used wrong spelling somewhere else. Nope. Not sure why it is giving me an error again, because the code seems pretty right to me here. At least, oops, sorry. Here you go. Yep. The problem here is that the spelling mistakes can be problematic. Yep, now it's fine. So say splitting 91 candies and then splitting 1 candy, which is equal to 1. Just check our solution also just for the sake. Yep, if total candy is equal to 1, splitting 1 candy, we can do it this way also, but I've just copy paste the print statement to save our time. So let's jump on to question 3 now. Let's read it quickly. In this tutorial we talked about deciding whether we prepared for the weather. I said that I am safe from today's weather if I have an umbrella or if the rain isn't too heavy and I have a hood. Otherwise I'm still fine unless it's raining and it's a work day. The function below uses our first attempt at turning this logic into a Python expression. I claim that there was a bug in that code. Can you find it? To prove that prepared for weather is buggy, come up with a set of inputs where either the function returned false but should have returned true, or the function returned true but should have returned false. So again, the main part in this question here is that we don't need to go through the code and do the debugging. All we need to do is that we need to write some test cases to find whether the code is buggy or not. That is an important thing, right? So let's read this thing again. It says that if I have an umbrella or if the rain isn't too heavy and I have a hood, that means the weather is fine, I'm safe. So we can make this thing into false, right? Have umbrella. Then it says if the rain isn't too heavy or I have a hood, I am safe, right? So again, let's make it false. I don't have a hood. Let's jump out to the next part. It says that otherwise I am fine unless it's raining and it's a work day, right? So let's say it is not a work day. I'll just keep it like this, and now we'll run this part of code. Yep, it's say correct. I'll just go through the output also. Clearly we are prepared for the weather. In this case it's not raining. Not only that, it's not a work day, so we don't even need to leave the house, but our function will return false on this inputs. It should be giving us a true statement because the weather is perfectly fine. If you read the question again here, I said that I'm safe from today's weather if this is this, right? But it's giving us false here because I have changed the test cases into false. So that was the issue with our code here in the question 3. So basically the main part of this question was just to go through the code and write some test cases. Super easy and straight, right? Let's jump on to question 4. The function is negative. The function is negative below is implemented correctly. It returns true if given number is negative and false otherwise. However, it's more verbose than it need to be. We can actually reduce the number of lines in this code by 75% while keeping the same behavior. See if you can come up with an equivalent body that just use one line of code. So they are saying that this is the function, but this function is using too many commands, right? So it's using this if else statement. If number is less than 0, return true, else return false. So what happened is that it's taking too much time. So this thing can be really handy because once you start working onto machine learning, these things can be really crucial. Once you jump onto TensorFlow can be really heavy program, and it can take a lot of time to run one machine learning model. So these things can be really handy. So we'll see if we can write this code within one line, right? What we need to do is that if number is less than 0, return true, else return false. So we'll simply write here that return number less than 0, right? So again, yep, there's something wrong with the indentation, I think. Yeah, just a second. It seems to be a problem with Python for me. Yep, that's correct. So what is happening here is we look into the solution and see, right? So it is returning us the number equal to true if it's less than 0, otherwise it will give us false. We don't need to mention if else condition because that's how this statement work here, return statement, right? Now we'll jump on to question 5a. This question is pretty interesting actually. So we need to use some logical operators here. So the boolean variables ketchup, mustard and onion represent whether a customer wants a particular topping on their hot dog. We want to implement a number of boolean functions that correspond to some yes or no question about the customer order. For example, so this is the example they have given us. So the function name is onionless. There are 3 parameters, ketchup, mustard and onion. We return whether the customer doesn't want onions. So it says return not onion. What's happening here is that let's say a customer say I need an onion, right? Let's say yes, I need an onion. So it will return true. It says customer come to our shop and say that no, I don't need an onion, it will return false, right? What we have done is that return whether the customer doesn't want the onions, right? So we are doing opposite of that thing, right? So if I am a customer, I say that, oh, okay, I don't need an onion, it will return false, but this statement will return true. So again, just read the question again. It's what we need here is that we need to know whether the customer doesn't want onion or the customer want onions, right? Our function name is onionless dish. We need to make onionless dish, so this statement should be proper return statement. So let's say a customer come to our shop and say that, okay, I don't want onion. That means onion is equal to false, but this will return true. That means that yes, customer doesn't want the onions. So we are doing it exactly using the not operator. We are doing this, working with this thing. Let's jump on to next question, right? It says the function name is want all the topics. Return whether the customer want all three topics. So if you remember, we have discussed this thing in the tutorial, that there is a one operator named as AND. In AND operator, what happens is if all the statements are true, it will give us true, otherwise it will give us false. So what we need to write here is ketchup and mustard and onion. So what's happening here is that if the customer want ketchup as well as mustard as well as onion, in this case only this statement will give us true, otherwise it will give us false. If you remember the AND operator, the key part in AND operator is if all the statements are true, it will return true, otherwise it won't return true. Let's jump on to next question, 5b. So here is the function name is wants plain hot dog. So return whether the customer wants a plain hot dog with no toppings, right? So in this case, we again need to use a not statement. So let me type this code for you first. What's happening here is that even if one of this statement is true, let's use this statement only, it will give me an output of true, right? So if a customer want just ketchup or just mustard or just onion, this function will return true, right? Now if I enter not here, if I added not in front of this, so let's say a customer asked for ketchup only, that means this is true, these are false, and when with the OR operator it will give me a true statement, so it will give an opposite statement of that, right? So return not opposite. So let's say a customer came and said that I need a ketchup but I don't need a mustard, it should be false, and I don't need an onion, it should be false, right? That's what a customer said. So this statement will return true because we are using OR operator. We are using OR operator, so this statement will return true, right? But when I added not, it will give me false. Why? Because our question is that whether the customer wants a plain hot dog with no toppings. That means so this OR statement should stay false all the time. All the time it should stay false because we are looking at the question where a customer wants a plain hot dog with no toppings, right? Yep, that's right. Now next jump on to 5c question here, right? It says that you know what to do for next function, fill in the body to match the English description in the dog string. So this is the dog string. Let's read the English description. Return whether the customer wants either ketchup or mustard but not both. You may be familiar with this operator under the name of exclusive OR, right? Either ketchup or mustard but not both. Again, let's write down a simple function here. It says return ketchup and not mustard, or mustard and not ketchup. That's what this function do. We'll use the OR operator here. I'll quickly run on to the last question here before my time ran out because I haven't signed in. That's my bad. I'll sign in next time. So the next question is mustard plus onion equal to 1. So the question was whether the customer want exactly one of the 3 available toppings on their hot dog. So this is how it will work. I'll explain this thing in my blog also. If you are confused in this part, feel free to ask me in the comment section. But this is it for day 4. I'll see you on day 5 with the new topic of lists.